I always knew you were the stupidest lambs. The Starks and Targaryens have united against us, and you want to fight alongside them. Are you a traitor or an idiot?
You pledged our forces to fight our common
I'll
enemy.
say whatever I need to say to ensure the survival of our house. You expect me to trust the man who murdered our father? You expect me to command our troops to fight beside foreign scum? To fight for the Dragon Queen?
You saw it with your own eyes. You saw a dead man trying to kill us.
And I saw it burn. If dragons can't stop them, if Dothraki, Unsullied, and Northmen can't stop them, how will our armies make a difference?
This isn't about noble houses. This is about the living and the dead.
And I intend to stay amongst the living. Let the Stark boy and his new queen defend the north. We stay here where we've always been.
I made a promise.
Our child will rule Westeros.
Our child will never be born if the dead come south.
The monsters are real. The White Walkers, the dragons, the Dothraki screamers, all the frightening stories we heard when we were young, they're all real, so be it. Let the monsters kill each other.
When the fighting in the north is over, someone wins. You understand that, don't you? If the dead win, they march south and kill us all. If the living win, and we've betrayed them, they march south and kill us all. I faced them in the field. We can't beat them. We can't beat their dragons.
How many dragons did you see at the pit?
2.
What happened to the third?
For all we know, it's guarding a fleet.
She came here with her dragons and her Dothraki and her Unsullied. She came here to show us all her power. If something happened, the dragons are vulnerable.
We can't beat the Dothraki. We don't have the numbers. We don't have the support of the other houses.
No, we have something better. We have the Iron Bank. Highgarden brought us the most powerful army in Essos.
How is a mercenary company in Essos going to help us?
Do you really think Euron Greyjoy turned tail and sailed back to the Iron Islands? No one walks away from me. He's sailing with his fleet to Essos. He's going to ferry the Golden Company back here to help us win the war for Westeros.
You plotted with Euron Greyjoy without telling me the command of your armies.
And you conspired with Tyrion, the man who murdered our father, without telling me, your queen.
I didn't conspire.
You met with him in secret without my consent. You planned to promote my enemy's interests. That is the definition of conspiracy.
I pledged to ride north. I intend to honor that pledge.
And that would be treason.
Treason?
Disobeying your queen's command, fighting with her enemies. What would you call it? I told you no one walks away from me.
Are you going to order him to kill me? I don't believe you.
We are the Watchers on the Couch. We are the voices that guide the realms of men. We are the Night's Watch. Welcome to the season finale of the Night's Watch. I'm your host, Cal the King Slayer, and alongside me as always, I have Lord Tom and Lady Kimber of House Odd Shape Channel.
Hey everyone, welcome.
Man, that was a great intro. I would like to thank Tom for giving some time to my boy, Jamie Lannister, the King Slayer. I really needed that. That was a great episode, and just seeing him, you know, that was awesome. So thank you for that.
Yeah, it was no problem. I felt like this was one of his best performances, just his sheer disbelief of the situation. I thought it was a really good one, and I'm glad I didn't do an earlier Jamie scene and waste the spotlight.
Yeah, I'm really glad to. You know, as you know, he's my favorite character, and I think he had a great season. So I know we have a lot to talk about today, so we're going to jump right into like the announcements and all that. and then get started to the recap. I know usually I go through like saying how did we feel about the episode and all that, but we'll get through that a little bit later. So first of all, like we always start off with talking about the charity raffle that we're doing. It's actually ending this Thursday, August 31st. Remember, the prize is the Song of Ice and Fire book set, and all proceeds that we raise will be donated to Tina Simmons to help pay for medications not covered by Medicaid. So if you want to know more about her story, you can check her out on Twitter at LostDogs20. You can email me at nightswatchtube@gmail.com or DM me on Twitter at nightswatchtube, or even at my normal Twitter at VeeranJadejavu. I want to acknowledge all the people so far who have donated, though. We have quite a bunch now. We have Vicky and Elise, Mormo, my cousin Jay, some guys from my softball team, such as Howard, Dominic, and Drew. Then we also have my friends Jen and Angelo, Corey, one of our OS peeps, my friend Ken as well, and then our newcomer today, Nicole. Nicole's also donated towards our charity as well. So thank you everybody for donating. Remember, whoever hasn't donated yet, you still have until August 31st to donate. I know I said I was going to release the video on August 31st of the winner, but I think I'm going to be away all day on August 31st. So I'll probably make the video on September 1st, that Friday. So I'll do the video of who won it, and also the video of me donating all the money on the 1st. And I know some people have contacted me saying that they don't get paid until the 1st, so that's why I'm kind of holding out to donate till the 1st, because I know some people are getting paid on the 1st. But once again, thank you to everyone who's already donated. It's very much appreciated. Thank you for like supporting the community as well. The next thing I want to talk about is, I didn't get this image up yet, but here it comes. Here it is. Name days. We have some name days. Like, as we like to wish a happy name day from the Night's Watch family to Janine. I'm hoping, Janine, she just actually is in here. She just got here, actually, I think. Happy name day to Janine. As you know, she designs our shirts and our title card for the Night's Watch. So a very happy name day to her. And I can't forget Corey, who celebrated his birthday this weekend as well. So happy name day to Corey. So happy name day from the Night's Watch. Speaking of Janine and her designs, G9 Designs, she did, like I just said, she designs our shirts. So we have another segment we call Take the Black. So if you buy the shirt and send me a picture of it, we show your picture on the during the show. So our final person that we're showing this season is our very own Maester, Jeff. So Jeff, thank you for supporting the Night's Watch immensely, and we're glad to have you as our Maester. We're glad to hear that you're feeling better. We wish you continued health and all that. So thank you once again for supporting us, and now your watch begins. So I think I got all the announcements. Oh, wait, I still have one more thing to talk about. Now I got to bring these up. Kimber actually sent me a funny file, so I hope this actually comes up. It should be here somewhere, located in my thing. Oh, no, is it not coming up?
Oh, no.
Oh, crap. I don't know if it's coming up, unless I moved the file. And I didn't move the file. So, because it was a different type of file. So Kimber sent me a picture of 2 Funko Pops that were, I guess, that Tom placed together in a precarious position. One of John and one of Danny. Yeah, it's not coming up because it's not the right file type, I think. Let me see if I can order.
It's on my Twitter.
It's on. Oh, here it is. Is it coming up? Nope, it's not coming up, right? Yeah, it's
Nope.
just a black screen.
Oh, wait.
No.
Oh, no,
No.
it's weird. You broke it.
Yeah, so unfortunately it didn't come up, but it was Danny and John having sex as Funko Pops. So that was a good thing that he made and took a picture of. But I do have some more images to share with you, actually, for fan. It's not really fan art, but it's actually one of my the manager of my softball team, our captain. He actually went away, and they actually on vacation, and they're actually at one of the locations that they shoot Game of Thrones at. So if I put up these pictures, I'll have my co-host. Do you think that you guys know what this is? Where this is?
Oh,
So if I guess I got to talk for you guys to see it, like unless you lock it on my screen. So this is yeah, very good. It's Dragonstone. So my some of my softball team members went there with. One softball team member went there with his family. Whoops, the logo was rotating, not the picture. Sorry. Oh crap! Did I do it again? So yeah. A lot of pictures to do. Here's another.
Oh, that's
the beat.
That's
No, I think this is still Dragonstone. This is a little image to the right. This is where they landed on the beach, and then this is like the wall coming up. The next picture. So give it a second because I gotta rotate it. And his son sitting on the rocks on Dragonstone, and then you have one more picture where it's kind of different on the show, but here's the last picture. this is actually the cave that they walked into where the White Walker paintings are, but obviously it's not really, that's probably CGI edited where there's actually a cave. So that's the little hollow that they walk into. So it's pretty cool. It's a little bit more fan art. So I got through the announcements. I got through the Take the Black, the fan art, the name days. Now we get into the recap. So we have a lot to talk about. The longest episode to date, right? I think it was. Okay. Did you guys have anything to say before I get into it?
The most viewed episode to date too, which is crazy.
Oh, yeah. Well, we didn't know leaks this year. This episode, right? Yeah, except for the script, right? But yeah. I mean, do you know how many viewers it got?
No.
No,
okay.
We're not.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to rotate these pictures again. So give me a second when I put them up. So the episode starts out with King's Landing, right? So the Unsullied. So do you see it right now? There you go. The Unsullied have surrounded King's Landing, and then we have a shot of Jamie and Bronn looking on. So let me. Oh wait, now the freaking thing is flipping again. I don't know when I get pictures from other people, they don't come up like straight, so it's kind of weird. Okay, so Jamie and Bronn are looking through the ramparts, looking out and seeing the Unsullied army. And then soon, hold on, one more picture, rotate. The Dothraki show up, and they ride in. So it's kind of an intimidating force. And they talk about, he's like, oh, Bronn will never get tired of being called Lord, and Jamie's like, yeah, you will eventually. And then they talk about Cox and how the world's all about Cox, I guess, eventually. It's just a kind of funny sentiment between them. And then we have Jon and Tyrion and Davos and Missandei and a bunch of others like Jorah sailing in. So I guess which is Blackwater Bay, right? They're probably sailing into Blackwater Bay. They see the overlook of King's Landing, and it's the first time Jon's ever been to King's Landing or ever seen it. And he asks like, how many people live in there? He's like 1 million people. So that's kind of a lot for him. It's just a huge number. While that's happening, we have the Hound going underground, below deck, I should say, to look at the status of the captured White and to see if it's still alive. And he gives it a little like nudge, and it's still alive. And then we have the group, the boarding party or the debarking party that they walk to the Dragon Pit. That's where they're all supposed to meet. They talk about the history of the Dragon Pit a little bit. Oh, there's Mavis. Hello, Mavis. And it's kind of suspicious because we're missing Dany, but we all know how Dany's going to show up because she always shows up in the same way. She's got to make an entrance. While they're going halfway, they meet Bronn, and the Bronn's envoy has Brienne and Podrick there. So here's, we talked about this last week. We talked about how we like the little dialogues between characters, and that was like probably one of the best moments that we have during the episode Beyond the Wall, where, Tom equated that to our trip to Philadelphia, where people broke off and talked to each other, and those were like the most touching moments, and we enjoy those things. So one of my favorites was actually of Brienne and Hound talking, and they're talking about Arya, and that's kind of like a proud father and wife. Father and mother about their daughter, and Hound kind of breaks cracks a little smile, like a half a smile, and looking at Brienne, and she kind of cracks a half a little smile. So that was great to see. And then we have a little talk between Bronn and Podrick as well as Tyrion, and it's just like, I missed you, and it was good to see you, and he's like, good to see you too, and it was just all these nice little moments that we enjoy. And then they walked into the Dragon Pit, which is a pretty cool scene. I don't know if this was a set that was created or they went to some ruins or something, but this was a really cool sight to see. So what do you guys think about the arrival at King's Landing and the Dragon Pit and just the whole ambiance and the character exchanges and that? What do you guys think of all that?
Yeah, well, you know what I had to say about the Cox thing. Like, if they're going to talk this much about Cox, then they better give us some. That's been a big complaint of mine on Game of Thrones. So they need to put their money or their Cox where their mouths are. Put them on the show.
And the only one you actually really could have gotten this season was probably Grey Worm, but he's kind of missing that. So
what the hell? You could have given us it later in this episode, but they didn't.
That's true, but I think Kit Harington has like a no nudity contact. Strict no frontal nudity contract or whatever it is. But what else did you guys think about the entry and all that stuff?
The Unsullied being there was a little abrupt. I wish we saw maybe like a 1-minute scene of them being picked up from King's Landing, then being picked up from Casterly Rock, and then being dropped off at King's Landing. It was just like, and I can appreciate speeding things up, but that was just like, it was a lot of people to just be there.
And they never really explained how the Unsullied got away from Casterly Rock, right? When it's surrounded, I guess they marched. They obviously marched, but still. What were you saying?
Yeah, I like that Arya conversation with the Hound and Brienne a lot that you were talking about. it was nice to see him, because he was kind of rigid when she started the conversation, but the second that he mentioned Arya, he softened up a lot. And I was like, oh, you big softy, because that's definitely been something that we all like about him, is that he takes care of the Stark girls, both Sansa and Arya. So it was really nice for him to find out that she's okay and that she's fully capable of taking care of herself and that she's kind of a little badass.
Yeah, and we know that the Hound is on her list. Or at least she's taken him off because she thinks he's dead, even though she got her knuckles racked when she said that in the House of Black and White. But he said he's not going to get in her way. So I hope they have a moment.
Yeah, because they're all coming back to Winterfell, right? So we'll talk about it in a little while. They're all going to come back to Winterfell, so we'll see how all that goes. So you can't have the meeting of the queens without queens. So the first queen that shows up is obviously Cersei. She comes with her group, led by Gregor Clegane, the Mountain, or the Zombie Mountain, and Qyburn, and Jaime's obviously there, as well as Euron. Then they all sit down, and the first other cool interaction that we get, the next cool interaction that we get is something that we've all been waiting for a really, really long time, where the Hound goes up to the Mountain and he says, you remember me, don't you? Well, you're a lot uglier than I am now, and I know that's not how you die. You know how you're going to die, so wait for that. And this brought up a cool thing that I heard on another show that they said, someone brought this theory up saying, like, hey, maybe when he put his face into the fires because the Hound saw something in the flames, because you know how he saw something in the flames later with Beric and Thoros and Beric. Maybe when he was younger, he saw something in the flame and said something to the Mountain, and the Mountain got mad, and the Mountain put his face into the flame. Maybe it just wasn't the toy. That was the story that was told, but maybe that's not what happened. So, that was a cool theory that I heard. But Clegane Bowl, the hype is real. So I'm excited for that. Because we were worried for a while that we wouldn't get that after the trial by combat is outlawed, but now we're back at it. So we're back in. I was joking that they're going to save it for WrestleMania, so maybe we'll have a crossover with Aftermath and talk about it at WrestleMania. The next queen that shows up is obviously the Dragon Queen. We have Dany riding in on Drogon, and one of the best parts of the scene, she's always going to make an entrance, but one of the best parts of this scene, in my opinion, was seeing Cersei's reaction. Stone cold, nothing, no reaction to it. I'm not impressed. That's how she reacted when she saw the dragon. Everyone else was like ducking and like, oh, look at that. And like, she was just like straight faced. It was great. What did you guys think about the Clegane Bowl thing and then Dany's entrance and Cersei's reaction?
As far as the Clegane Bowl thing, I'm really happy it's happening. I always thought that Gravedigger would end up burying the Mountain. As far as the Cersei thing, I think she may have been putting on that face, but I think she was a little bit impressed.
Yeah, I was going to say that I think she's really good in this scene. Her acting is on point because you can fully see in her performance that she's acting like she's not impressed, but she's totally impressed underneath it. And I also want to shout out that I thought her costumes were amazing this whole episode. She looked freaking awesome, and I'm a big fan of really evil Cersei. Like, I like her so much more than I did a couple seasons ago. I find her really interesting, and I just can't take my eyes off of her when she's on screen.
I'm glad you said that, because I was going to say that at the beginning of the episode, but I'm glad you reminded me. I know when we used to talk about this back when we were on the other channel that we were on, we usually talked about like, the titles of the episodes and stuff like that, as well as like we don't talk about the costumes and all that and like the set design. We haven't really talked about this season, but the acting has been phenomenal this episode. I really enjoyed the acting, especially by Peter Dinklage and Lena Headey. I've heard it everywhere, and I agree with them completely. The acting, just that one scene that we're going to get to in a little while, was such a great scene. The acting was amazing. The costumes, like you just said, everyone's costume, like just the armor of certain people, like the Unsullied, they had the three dragon like ring on their chest. Jaime, obviously we said previously, with his Lannister armor. So many things. Cersei's dresses, Dany's dresses. All that kind of, the hand of the queen pins that we talked about. But not only that, the music as well. We talked about the last time we talked about music, I think was probably The Light of the Seven and how beautiful that scene was with that music. But just the swelling of the music in certain scenes in this episode, and how you saw in the great montage that Tom made in the beginning with I think it was like Cersei's like theme playing. I forgot which theme it was, either Cersei or the Reigns of Castamere or something, playing when like Gregor Clegane pulled out his sword. Like just those like little swells of music and everything, the crescendos, diminuendos, it's so beautiful. Like I have to give to the directors and everyone, we have to give them props for that. So I'm glad you mentioned the costumes. I forgot to say that in the beginning, but thank you. That was that was great. All this was great, this episode. No
Yeah,
fault.
for sure. I was live tweeting this one as it was happening, which I usually don't do. And I was trying to keep them vague enough that if people weren't watching the episode, it wouldn't really spoil anything. But man, I could not hold back from every time Cersei came out in a new outfit. I was like, yes, so good. It was awesome.
As many costumes as Flash Gordon.
So from there, we actually start the discussions, right? The hopefully the truths that was supposed to be made. And when Tyrion starts it off, well, first we get that little interaction between Dany and Cersei saying, she's like, "You're late," and she goes, "My apologies." She's like, "We've been waiting," or she's been waiting for some time, which has only been like a few minutes, but who knows how much time has gone with the time and all that. So we don't know, but I think it was only a few moments, and she's just, being stubborn. So Tyrion comes out and starts giving his pitch, but before he can get his pitch out, Euron interrupts him, says something about, I won't agree to a truce unless Theon, I don't know, pledges his life to me or whatever it was. I have your sister who's taunting him as well. Then Tyrion and Theon have this little exchange about like, oh, he never made any good dwarf jokes. But Jaime's like, what the hell are you doing, man? Sit down. And then Cersei's like, sit down. And so that, they start talking. And then eventually after Euron's mockery is over, Tyrion starts his proposal again. Cersei's not really buying it. So then Jon chimes in as well. And Cersei still is not buying it. She doesn't believe what's going on. So, Tyrion eventually says, we can't just say to her, we have to show her. So that's when we see the Hound come out with this box on his shoulder, which is obviously the box that they brought with the white in it. So we got this really cool scene where he brings the box out, he puts it down, and then he like shakes it. Nothing happens. He's like, what's going on? Then finally he kicks. So now you're thinking, everyone's thinking like, oh great, they brought all this over and it wasn't going to survive. What the hell? It sucks. But then he kicks it over and out comes, one of the extras from The Walking Dead running out and jumps right to Cersei. And that's when you see her face change. She gets scared right away. And she's like, oh man. Then turns around because, the Hound yanks the chain at the last second. Turns around, runs the Hound. Hound cuts it in half. This is when like Qyburn kind of gets up and like after the arm is chopped off, he gets up. He's like, oh wow, this is so interesting. I'm so intrigued by this stuff. He was like, this is like a new toy for me. And then Jon explains to him how they can kill it. He puts it on fire. Says by burning can kill it. And then he stabs it. And then says the dragon glass can kill it as well. And the next thing that happens is we see Euron get up and say, hey, can these things swim? And they're like, no. He's like, well, then I'm going to go back to my island because they can't touch me there. And he stops at Dany and goes, you know what? If I go to my island and you go to your island, when this is all over, we could be a thing and we'll be the only ones alive. And it was kind of funny to see that. And then so she's like, he might be smart for leaving, but he's also a coward. And, we can't have that. So then Cersei realizes that the kind of, well, I don't want to say realize, but sees it as a problem. And then she says, I will do the truce. I'll hold my forces back. I'll let you fight your war only if the King of the North, or this man over here, the Ned Stark's son, or bastard, whatever she calls him. I think she might have said son at this point. Doesn't take arms against me, pledges fealty to the crown and not to you, doesn't side against me. And Jon goes, no, I can't do that. I already pledged my honor to Dany, and I can't pledge myself to two queens. So then Cersei says, you know what? Then there's no deal. I'm out. And she takes her whole envoy, and they leave. And that was, a pretty good scene. And then the last thing that we talk about there, and this was a great speech by Jon, in my opinion. I had it as my Facebook quote, I think, last night. They're like, you could have, Dany comes and goes, I admire what you did, but you could have bent the truth. And Tyrion goes, you should have lied. Then he goes, what is there in lies? If words are false promises, that, or he says, if the world's full of false promises, what do words mean anything anymore? Something like that. It was great what he said. And so Cersei left, and then Tyrion's like, you know what? The only way we're going to do this is if I go alone and talk to her. So what did you think about the whole little ceasefire that they had at the moment in the discussion?
Yeah, the first thing I want to say is Tom's friend James said something hilarious about how Euron just cut into that character, that conversation. Do you remember? He said he was like a bad NPC that in a game, like a video game that just starts its dialogue at a random time when you walk near it. And that just like really cracked me up. I thought it was funny. He was pretty disappointing for me overall.
I'll tell you what, for a second I was scared because this whole time this dude's been preaching he's the craziest dude.
Mm-hmm.
He's crazier than Ramsay,
Yeah.
blah, blah, blah. And so when he's walking up on Tyrion, I'm like, is he going to try some shit? Because it's the season finale. He's been preaching this whole time.
Yeah.
And he's just like, dwarf joke.
Yeah, I don't think he delivered for me overall, having seen the whole season. I really hope they do something with him because, like, I would have much rather have seen Ramsay in this situation. I feel like he would have been so much more interesting to watch than Euron was. Euron, like, came out strong in the first few episodes, and then they really didn't do jack shit with him the entire time.
Few episodes this season.
Yeah, that's
he
what
was
I'm
still
saying.
kind of weak sauce when he was first introduced.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
As far as everything else, I mean, I love Jaime's reaction to it all. Him right away going, how many men do they have? What's the best course of action? Like Jaime this puts a spotlight, and again, why I loved his performance later on in the episode. It shows you the actual, like, this is Jaime in the same mode he was in when he found out Ares was about to blow up King's Landing. Like, he's like, I need to save everyone. And I like this Jaime a lot.
What do you think? We know how the episode goes, but I don't want to jump ahead. But what do you think about Cersei's original proposal? Do you think that was genuine? If John if John bent the knee to her and didn't use his forces against Cersei, do you think it was genuine?
Cersei is a liar, and she will say whatever she needs to manipulate herself into these situations. I really don't think she has any interest in forming alliances with people who she doesn't think will actually be allies in the long run. If it was genuine in that moment, the second she had an opportunity that was better, she would definitely flip the script. I don't trust her.
She also knows John is not the kind of leader who's going to sit and let his army fight. And what are the odds of John actually living through this war? So that may also be an incentive. Let him, she says it later, and I don't want to jump too much, but let the monsters fight the monsters.
Right.
Like, she would rather them
take each other out.
Yeah, and then see what comes at her later.
Right. So then Tyrion leaves the group, and he walks down the hall, and he meets with Jaime, and Jaime just left talking with Cersei, and obviously didn't convince her either. And he goes, who's the bigger idiot? Me or you? There was just a really touching moment. He's like, I'm about to walk into a room with a woman who's murdered me twice for all that I know, maybe even more, and unarmed, anything, who's a bigger fool kind of thing. And then so Jaime's like, I suppose that we should say goodbye now. So I think it was a really nice moment. We don't really get that many moments between Jaime and Tyrion, like, besides the time he let him go with his father, and then the time we saw them again in the dragon dungeon, whatever you want to call that, underneath where the original Scorpion was. So they're very few and far between, and they're very short, but they're so much said in those moments. Just the bond that they had, kind of thing. It's very unspoken, but I like it. So that was a good scene. And then we have the scene that I was talking about. This is probably one of the best scenes in the series, from acting perspective of, Peter Dinklage and Lena Headey. What just the interaction between them. You see the genuine emotion on their face. Like, this stuff really happened to them, where they talk about, you're the reason my children are dead. You're the reason father is dead. You're the reason this family's, where it is today. And he's like, I love those children. You can't say I didn't. And he's trying to convince her, like, you gotta fight with us, because this is not the right answer. Like, if you want to have a future for the family, you have to fight with us, alongside us. I should say, because if these White Walkers get through, there will be nothing left to rule, nothing left for our family. And I can't like, we can't do this alone. We need you. And Cersei still just holds that grudge against him. And he goes, well, if you really do hold that grudge against me, kill me now, strike me down right now. And, then the mountain steps up again, unsheathes his sword a little bit, and Cersei just stares. And then she turns her head like, I don't want it to be done. And mountain sheathes his sword again. And that's when you hear a little sigh that Peter Dinklage gives out. And I don't know if that was just like ad-libbed or whatever, or improv, but that was amazing. Just told so much right there. Just so much emotion right there. It was great. And, the one thing about this thing is, Tyrion is drinking his wine, and he pours a cup and he puts it on Cersei's thing. Because, Cersei's known for drinking her wine too, but she doesn't touch it. So part of it is thinking, does she think he's going to poison her? Because that's what happened what's his name, Joffrey. But no, it's not that. It's just play off the fact that she's pregnant, right? And then you see her touch her stomach later on as well, and then he picks it up right there and goes, "You're pregnant," and the scene cuts. So we don't see how that whole thing is resolved. We don't see what kind of agreement they reached, So that was quite the moment, and there might be a lot left out that we don't see. And before we go back to the next thing, what did you think of that scene? Because I know it was a huge scene, and do you think this is maybe foreshadowing a heel turn?
Yeah, I think it's funny that you guys are saying like, oh, she didn't drink the wine because she's pregnant. And yeah, we know about that now. But if this is like in medieval times, they would not know anything about the effects of alcohols on pregnant women and fetuses. So I do think that's silly if that's what that in the plot.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's far more likely that she did probably not trust him because she did for a long time accuse her, him of poisoning Joffrey and everything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I didn't even think of that because of the setting of the story.
As far as when he's talking to Jamie and Jamie's like, well, I guess this is goodbye. I think it's more of like a foreshadowing of, oh, I'm going to have to leave too. You know what I mean? Which is a good payoff. I just, that was one of the good like little moments in the series so far that kind of gets a nice little payoff within the episode, and I like that.
And what again, like you said, excellent acting on all parts in both of those scenes.
And do you see a heel turn in Tyrion's thing, in Tyrion's future? Because we'll talk about a scene that comes up later, and we never saw the resolution of this scene, so we'll get to that a little bit later. But think of that, keep that in mind when we get to the next scene that we're seeing later on in the episode that we're going to talk about. I
think that's interesting because I've been on the Dany should be the bad guy because it'd be cool because they're setting her up as the hero this whole time to have her take a turn and be the villain. I would really like that. But if Tyrion was doing it, that'd be even more unexpected for him to be the one taking the turn to disappoint everybody by being the bad guy.
He wanted to be the one next in succession. That's why he was talking about it.
No, maybe he's just choosing his family over Dany eventually.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Well, we'll get to that.
Talk about it.
Yeah, I don't want
that one scene. That one scene that really bothered me later on. So we'll get to that when we get to it. But talk about two other people. We have John and Dany talking about their kind of past and history, and she's like, "I can never have children," and stuff like that. And he goes, "Oh, you mean the witch who betrayed you is telling you that? That's a really good source, Could be fake news. Who knows?" So they kind of had a laugh and a chuckle. And when that's happening, Tyrion returns first by himself, looking kind of sully, downtrodden. And then a few seconds later, behind her, once again, Cersei arrives. And she's like, you know what? I'm not going to hold back my army or something. I'm going to send them with you. And that's when the music is swelling and you have all this happy cheerfulness. And part of you got to think, this is not the real Cersei. She would never think this. And but she pledged to her forces to the team of Dany and John, and she says, "But remember this, though. I'm making this pledge to you without you making any promises to me. So remember that when this is all over." So same thinking, like maybe you won't challenge my throne or whatever she's thinking in her head. She just remember that. Finally, we leave King's Landing and we go back to Winterfell. Sansa receives the Raven from John, saying that John had bent the knee to Dany, and he's no longer going to be considered king in the North, I guess, because of that. He's just another guy, a vassal of the queen when she takes over, Daenerys. A warden? Yeah, warden. Yeah, warden, right? Yeah, it'd be a warden. And Littlefinger starts playing that little game with her, saying, maybe you should think about, I used to play this little game, and you got to worry about the union that between Dany and John, because after they get married, you're not gonna be in the picture anymore, really, because you won't have any power. And Sansa's also worried about Arya's loyalty because through all the actions she's been going through, with the dagger and all the threats that she's been posing. And Littlefinger teaches her the game about the worst possible scenarios, like why is this happening? And then he goes, well, the worst thing that could happen, and she answers him. And then what's the worst thing about this happening? And so on and so forth. And she's kind of putting pieces together in her head. So that could mean one or two things. I know Tom had a theory, and then there's opposing theories as well that are debated, so hotly debated. We'll get to that when we get to the next scene back at Winterfell. But we see that some things like, the gears turning in Sansa's head here. We jump to Dragonstone, and Jon is discussing plans on how to move the armies north. Jon says, we should sail to White Harbor and then ride down the King's Road to Winterfell. Whereas Jorah suggests that Dany fly straight to Winterfell because the King's Road is very, very dangerous. But Jon says, no, we should arrive together because that would show that you're not a conqueror, that you're fighting together with us. So then Dany agrees with Jon that he'll go together and arrive at Winterfell together as opposed to riding on the dragons. And you see Jorah's face kind of drop a little bit. As Jon is leaving to make preparations to head to Winterfell, he is stopped by his old buddy Theon. And they have a kind of a nice moment where he's like, Jon, I need to talk to you. And Jon says, Theon says, Jon was always in the right, and he always knew right from wrong, and Theon is full of regret for all his actions, and he wants redemption. He always felt that he had a very difficult choice to choose between a Stark and a Greyjoy, being a Stark or being a Greyjoy. But Jon says, I can forgive you for some of the stuff you did, but not all of it. But know that you can be both, because our father was more of a father to you than Balon was ever. Your biological father was ever a father to you. And Theon takes it to heart, and he goes, you know what? Yara was the only one who ever tried to save me when I was a prisoner of Ramsay, so I must return the favor. And so Jon goes, so why are you standing here with me? So then Theon goes to the beach. He gets into, he says, we got to go save Yara because she did that for me, and she's our leader. And the captain's, I don't know the captain's name, but the captain's like, no, we're not going to go. We're going to Essos, and we're going to pillage there. And Theon says, you know what? When Yara pledged her oath to Dany, he says, we're going to end the wreathing that the Ironborn do. And then the captain spat in his face. They get into a fist fight. Theon keeps getting up after he gets knocked down. Then eventually he turns the tables when the captain tries to knee him in the balls, but obviously he doesn't have balls or a dick. And Theon just beats the shit out of him afterwards, gets up, and he rallies the men and says, we're going to go for Yara. And they're like, for Yara. And then he goes over to the water to washes his face, which I thought was a cool scene. So what do you guys think of this? The scene about the traveling to Dragonstone, and the Theon scene with Jon, and the final Theon scene after that?
I loved the Theon scene with Jon. This was very nice and obvious foreshadowing to the crisis of the who am I thing that Jon is obviously going to be dealing with next season when he finds out his true identity. So I thought it was clear foreshadowing to that, and it's nice that he feels that way, and it speaks to who Jon is,
I agree. Also thought the being kicked in the groin thing was a little ridiculous. The Kendall defense, I think I called it.
It would still hurt to
It
get
still
kicked in the
hurt.
crotch,
I
period.
agree.
But
Yeah, I mean, it was still a good scene, though.
What was that?
It's still a good scene. And, I like that you bring up the fact that, are you a Stark or you're a Greyjoy later on will play a fact for Jon as well. Not for being a Greyjoy, obviously, but you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So now to the most heated debate for a while on Game of Thrones, I guess, is what happens at Winterfell. This is a great callback to the scene where Ned is leading, the troops into the throne room against Cersei and Joffrey. And then there's a twist. And, obviously that's when Baelish holds the sword again, the cat's paw dagger to Ned's throat and says, I told you shouldn't have trusted me. So I saw that. As soon as I saw her walking like that, I'm like, there's obviously going to be a twist here because it just echoes that scene. So Arya's brought in because Sansa tells the person at the soldier on top of the ramparts to go bring in Arya to the Great Hall. So here comes Arya to the Great Hall. So then Sansa starts listing the charges of treason and murder and stuff. And she goes, before they do this, Arya goes, are you sure you want to do this? And she goes, that's not what needs to be done. It's what must be done. It's for honor. That's what we have to do. So then she brings up all the charges. She goes, how do you, answer to these charges? And she turns her head and says, Lord Baelish. So then Littlefinger's taken aback, what the hell? This is going against me. How is this possible? And then so then all actions Littlefinger is taken. He tells why he did it, and he tries to point out why he did all those things. He denies the charges, and he says no one was there to know the real truth. But then finally, Bran speaks up because Bran's always there. I mean, not always there, but now he's always been there for everything. And he goes into great detail about what Littlefinger did in the events, and then Littlefinger starts begging for his forgiveness. But Sansa's obviously not going to hear that, and Arya's the executioner. Arya goes up and slits Littlefinger's throat in the moment that probably made Morgan's heart drop. But still, it was just a great scene. And then you see just him lying in a pool of his own blood where everyone watches on. He tried to get help from the Vale, the Knights of Aaron, but they're like, no, we don't. You're the reason why Lysa Aaron's dead and stuff like that. So it was a great scene. So I'm gonna let Tom kick this off because I know you had the theory that they're plotting against.
I called it 4 episodes ago.
Yeah, it's been.
But see,
saying they could. I love this. This was great, but they didn't need to stretch it out so long. If this was if this happened last week, I think it would have been a much better episode, and you still would have had a good episode with what happened this week with all the political stuff.
Yes. I loved every bit of it personally. To have this payoff, it's Littlefinger. He's a huge player in the show. I do feel like they ran out of things for him to do, and we kind of saw this coming, but it didn't make it any less satisfying. He fell right off the chaos ladder. He was left in a situation where he was completely powerless, literally on his knees, crying and begging Sansa not to do it. And it was hilarious because this is that antithesis of everything that Littlefinger stands for. And it was nice to see that happen to his character right before he goes out.
The best part was when he was like, I'm confused.
Yeah. And I love the way she turns and she kind of goes Lord Baelish, like in a supervillain moment. I was a big fan of that. But again, I shamed him when he gave them the dagger. We knew that would be the death of him. It didn't make it any less fun to watch. I enjoyed this, and I was glad it was a really long, drawn-out scene because it deserved to have this kind of drama to losing this character.
Yeah, see, I really think, I do agree with Tom with it being a plot by a Littlefinger, with Sansa and Arya, because when Arya sees Littlefinger, paying off people in the town, I think that put the thought in her head, we got to start playing a game to show, because, he could have spies everywhere. But then I thought, what's the purpose of doing this? Because, all they need to do is get him in the Great Hall, and, this is what would have happened eventually. So, because all it took was Bran saying, oh, yeah, I saw it all happen. So, I mean, there's, to both points, I guess, but I agree. There was a great payoff. It's what we need to see, and it was a great way to see Littlefinger go out. It was done the right way. I do agree. It was great. Any last words for Littlefinger for you guys? I mean, R.I.P. to him. I know Morgan's gonna miss him, and wear his little pin in honor of him for a month, or that you said, I guess. Anything else you got to say about Littlefinger before we go on to the next topic?
Yeah, Littlefinger was a great villain, side villain, I guess, in this story. He certainly caused the majority of these major events in the plot so far. It's going to be a different game without him in the picture. Even if you didn't like him, you got to respect that his character was seriously important in this world and affected a lot of plot lines. So I'll be sad to see him go, but it'll be interesting to see what they do next in the story.
Littlefinger. May the 7 spare you in the 7 hells, because you're gonna burn.
He should have been nicer.
You're gonna burn.
I kind of really wanted one more Littlefinger Varys scene probably, but it's all right. It was a good scene. We go back to King's Landing, and this is in the scene that Tom put together in the promo where Jaime's giving instructions to the Lannister men on how to move forces, and you see his military strategy and all that. And Cersei says, I need a moment with my brother. And then she says, you got to be the stupidest Lannister ever. How are you going to... Okay, I know you have a zombie mountain behind you, but, you're really going to start talk shit to the one guy who stood by you the whole time, pretty much. Despite everything you did, I mean, blowing up the Sept and all that kind of stuff. He's still standing by you. Saying you're the stupidest guy. You really thought I would support them. I just said that to them. Just I'll say anything to get my way and get a one up on them. And he's like, but I pledged my honor to them. I made an oath. And it just shows you how much an oath means to him. And you see the oath kind of carries her through the story in all of the seasons for Jaime, where, the oath was to his family at first. Then he makes an oath to Catelyn Stark to bring back, Arya and Sansa. And then, to protect Brienne, when he came back to protect Brienne. And just all these things, promises that he makes, he wants to stay true to them. And he says, obviously he's going to get Brandon's castle eventually, and all that kind of stuff. But it just, honor means so much to Jaime. And that's how important, that sword Oathkeeper, that's not his anymore. He gave to Brienne, obviously, but it was the appropriate name for that sword for him, because to him, keeping an oath and his honor and his duty was so important. And she's like, listen, she shot all over it. She's like, I'm not gonna stand by that my word. I'm gonna tear them down when they're fighting. And like you said earlier, let the monsters fight each other, and I'll take care of whatever remains. And he goes, but whatever remains, if it's the White Walkers, they're gonna march south. If it's the team of Danny and John, they're gonna march south. You can't do this. We gave our word, and we can't fight with just these people. She goes, it's not just these people. You really think Euron left? No, he wants a queen. I'm going to give him a queen, but in the meantime, he's going to ferry the Golden Company from Essos, because we still have the Iron Bank backing us. And that's when he's like, I can't stand by this. And he goes, well, if you don't stand by this, it's treason. That's what Cersei says. It'll be treason. And he goes, are you going to kill me? Are you going to kill me right now? And that's when Cersei nods to the mountain. The mountain unsheathes his sword again. And that's when Jaime's like, you see that look on his face, and it tells so much. And he's like, I don't believe you. And he just walks right by the mountain and leaves. So that was a crazy scene between these two. And then, obviously the last part of this scene is what we see when Jaime is riding his horse. And if you note, he's not in any Lannister armor anymore. He stripped himself of all his Lannister armor. So that was really crazy to see and very touching. And he looks up, and a snowflake, drops onto his, and winter has finally reached the south. Well, even though King's Landing is kind of central of Westeros, but south of what the main action is, winter has finally reached the south. And then he rides off. So where is he heading from here? Maybe Winterfell, because he wants to keep his oath and let them know, listen, Cersei's not keeping her word. Maybe that. But that scene, man, like for me being a huge Jaime Lannister Kingslayer fan, oh man, that meant the world to me, seeing him ride off not in Lannister armor. So I'm going to turn it over to you guys. What do you guys think of all that?
Cersei said a thing where she was like, you obviously didn't listen to Father about the importance of gold. And to see him right away, not only in pretty much Targaryen colors, but not a strip of gold on him, and he covers up his gold hand. It's almost like him like totally casting off the whole Lannister name. Because I mean, if I was in that position, the Lannister name has only brought me trouble. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I liked this too. This is legitimately the first time that I've really liked Jaime, and I understand that a lot of people have grown to like Jaime, but it took me a long time. It took me until here, which is funny because I grew to like Cersei before I grew to like Jaime for very different reasons. But I did like him very much, and I respected him a lot in this scene. Cersei, I understand that you were saying it would be reasonable for her to do this, and like normal people wouldn't feel this way about Jaime, but you have to understand this in Cersei terms. She feels like he's changed so much. She's having a harder time realizing that she's also changed, because when it's yourself, it's harder to be in touch with how much you've changed. But she sees how Jaime's changed. She assumes that Jaime is just going to follow her, because when we started the story, he absolutely would have. He pushed Brandon Stark out of the window to conceal their secret. He would have done anything for her. He's just not that person anymore, and I think it's really difficult for Cersei to deal with. She's watching him slip away from her and, get kind of disgusted by her, and it's difficult, I think, for her character. And she did threaten him, I think, out of defensiveness, that she was really terrified that he was going to leave and that everything was going to be different between them. So I just wanted to throw my opinion about Cersei in here.
Oh yeah, for sure. All in all, this might be one of my favorite scenes in Game of Thrones of all time, and it's just this season's all. I know a lot of the complaints are, everybody's rushing, and it's the pacing's off. But I mean, we've had 6 seasons of story, and I think this season and the next season are just all about payoff. Because I mean, there are so many ends that we need to get to. You know what I mean? Like connect all these dots. So I'm excited for next season for sure. But
I hope Austin's still in the chat. I don't know if Austin's still in the chat, but I want to give a shout out to him, because he had 4 points that he called that would happen in the finale, and all four happened. And the one that I doubted the most happening was this Jaime leaving Cersei. I thought he'd stay by her side till he killed her. But that was one thing I doubted, and I thought maybe Sansa would be the one to kill Littlefinger. but like he called all four, so I had to give him props for calling all four things. So that was cool. So shout out to Austin for that. So we get one more scene at Winterfell in a way where we have Samwell Tarly, Raul's favorite character, arriving at Winterfell. And he goes to Bran, and Bran remembers him. So Bran's kind of not really in the three-eyed raven moment, but we had a funny scene where he's like, "So what happened to you north of the wall?" He's like, "I became three-eyed raven." He's like, "Oh, I don't know what that is." And like that was funny, and explained to him that. And then they talk about Jon's lineage, right? So he's like, Jon's really a Sand because he was born a bastard that was born in Dorne to Rhaegar Targaryen. And then he's like, "No, wait, I read that Rhaegar annulled his marriage to Elia and married Lyanna Stark. So then he's really a Targaryen." He's like, "How do you not know that? You don't see that?" So then he jumps into a vision and he sees Rhaegar marrying Lyanna Stark in a secret ceremony by the Maester. And then they find out that Jon's real name is Aegon Targaryen. Which I think I said like a while back, because reading the lips, I think I said I was like Aegon for him. Or it was like, I thought I said either Aegon or Jaehaerys or something like that. But I gotta look back on our old footage, I guess. But yeah, I said, yeah, I know Eric's saying in the chat he looks like Viserys. I definitely said that. Like as soon as I'm like that guy looks like Viserys. What the hell's going on? But I think in the books they're saying that Viserys really tried to look like Rhaegar a lot by cutting his hair in certain ways. But for Rhaegar being the most beautiful person in like all of Westeros and having long flowing hair and stuff, I really didn't get that out of that. But so Jeff's asking how's Aegon spelled. If it's spelled the same way as Aegon Targaryen, the Aegon the Conqueror, is Aegon. So that was a cool scene. And then this is all happening as a voiceover of when we see Jon approach Dany in the ship in her cabin or whatever you want to call it, and that's when we see them finally have sex, right? Everyone's like favorite scene of the show. They've been waiting forever for this to happen. I mean, like I didn't see penetration, so I don't know if they actually really had sex yet. So I guess we'll find out. Some people think maybe they're gonna have a baby now too. So there's a lot going on in this scene. But while this is all happening, this is what I was talking about. We have Tyrion looking from the shadows underneath the stair. So like, what does that mean? That's what I was calling to earlier. Do you think it's like a heel turn? Like he's seeing this happen. He's like, "Oh man, this is gonna ruin all the plans I've had. Now maybe this throws a monkey, like a wrench into the works and all that." What do you guys think? You think it's gonna be a heel turn?
Look, I think every guy has had a friend that is a girl who is fully capable of making her own decisions, but still sits around and is like, "Okay, she's good. Let's go." Like,
I don't think that's what this is
but
at all.
but I think the bigger thing about it is that they're not married yet, and it's just going to make things even more complicated. And I think he's worried about that.
I don't think that's what it is at all either. I think that he clearly just made a deal with Cersei that her child is going to grow up and potentially be the one who rules the Seven Kingdoms. And even though she has told him that she can't conceive children, Tyrion is damn worried about that they might, So I think it's more about the deal that he just pulled with Cersei than anything else. I don't think he's necessarily making a heel turn. I just think he made kind of a deal based on the knowledge and the information that he has. And this just so happens to make him a little nervous because her not being romantically involved with someone is certainly a better spot for his deal than her being with somebody.
Yeah, so that could be.
Or he's just being a creep.
Yeah, or he could be a creep. Yeah.
He has got Anise and Shay, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, yeah, it might not be a heel turn, right? Whatever plan he did make with Cersei, it could throw like you're saying, could mess up that thing too. So I guess we'll see next season. But the one thing, do we now start calling Jon Aegon, or do we keep referring to him as Jon Snow?
No, we call him Aegon.
Aegon. Okay.
I have more things to say.
Yeah.
Oh.
One, the wedding. He looked exactly like Viserys, and I was in fact disappointed. I wanted some like pretty Legolas shit, like some long, really pretty hair, and like how he looks when you see drawings of Rhaegar. I wanted him to be prettier and more magnificent and the most beautiful man I've ever seen in the Seven Kingdoms. And he looks like a dude who was a straight up dickhead who none of us liked being alive in the Seven Kingdoms. So it did break my heart a little bit to finally see him. And literally, they could have used the same actor as Viserys because it just looked exactly like Viserys.
It was so dark too. Like, why not put some sun in that scene and like brighten like the hair? Like, it would have made it look so like fantastical.
Yes, and I do have to shout out Jon Snow's ass because that thing was a 10 out of 10. Very surprising. I know we've seen his butt like in really quick shots before, but really his ass was the one that stole the show in that final scene. I did think it was kind of vanilla for a Game of Thrones sex scene, that they could have given us more after all this build up to this point in the storyline.
Grey Worm
But
ain't got no junk, and his scene was bad.
the Grey Worm scene was great. I would have loved something like that. And then the Bran voiceover just really added to like the whole creepy Bran meme of this season because, you know, they're banging and he's like, just in case you forgot.
Yeah.
They're totally related, like over top of it. So it made it a
Yeah.
little weird for me.
As Tyrion's watching, like it's
As
like,
she's watching, yeah.
by the way, it's like a poor like nature documentary. Much as Tyrion.
So we stay here in Winterfell and we see that the girls looking over the wall, Sansa and Arya, and you know, Arya finally acknowledges like Sansa is the Lady of Winterfell. She's suited for that. Something I was never suited for. You know, that's speaking from Arya. And Sansa retorts by saying, responds by saying, you are the strongest person I ever know. And she goes, that's probably the nicest thing you ever said to me. From there, we go to the Godswood, and we see Bran just chilling, like that's in his favorite spot. And he actually wargs into a bunch of, I guess, crows or ravens flying by Eastwatch. And we see Tormund and Beric looking, overlooking the wall. And they're like, hey, something is coming. They notice something coming, and it's actually the Night King's army. So the Night King's army has showed up to the wall finally. So they got, the White Walkers on the horses. They got the Whites following behind them. And then they also have some giants. But that's not all they have. They look up in the sky, and what do you see? You see the dragon or the zombie Viserion fly in with his blue fire and start shooting the wall and start melting it and destroying it. Pretty crazy. It looked really cool. And finally, we see Tormund give the order to run, and they're all trying to get down the stairs because there's no elevator, I guess, at Eastwatch. They're all trying to run down the stairs, or maybe there is, and the fastest way to go down is an elevator, sorry. They should have a giant slide or something. I think that would be the best way to get down. But in the meantime, the dragon's breaking the wall. Eventually, the wall crumbles. The fates of Beric and Tormund are left up in the air. We don't know what happened to them because we just see the wall crumble. And the last shot we get is all the Night King's army crossing through the wall and heading south. And we see the shot of the Night King and on the dragon flying south. And that ends season 7 of Game of Thrones. And what a season it was, and what a final shot. So what do you guys think of the final shot with the Night King? Because we've been saying it from the beginning, the final shot of season 7 will probably be the wall coming down. So we got to see it. Did it live up to your expectations? What did you guys think?
First off, I'm so happy that it was actually blue fire and not ice.
Right.
I was super worried that they would like make it weird and change the physiology. And I'm like, well, how does ice take down an ice wall? So the blue fire thing is really cool. And if you know anything about fire, blue fire is like
The hottest.
just below white fire. Like it's super hot. So I'm sure it does some damage to some dragons.
Yeah, we've actually been calling this. We thought this was going to be the finale for last season.
Yep.
So we've actually been talking about this for the entirety of the Night's Watch, basically. But it was nice to finally see that. We knew that we weren't going to miss this moment in the show. They were not going to go around it. They weren't going to like pass up something so cinematic as this. And they did a good job. Me and Morgan were both very worried about Tormund because and I would worry about Morgan even more if he lost Tormund because they just took his little finger away. That's his other favorite character. So, I mean, we didn't really see what happens to them. We can hope they're okay, but I'm sure they're going to be dropping bodies next season, so anyone can go.
Yep.
Now, which would you have rather happen? Like, if you had to pick between these two things, Tormund definitely dying and we see him die, or him dying off screen and we see him as a white next season. Like that's the Tormund reveal. He's a white.
I mean,
or a walker.
I love Tormund, so I would rather him die on screen and then they visibly burn his body so that he does not come back as a white.
Visibly turn him into a white on
I don't
screen.
want that. No, whatever is not that choice. You
They
leave
need to
Tormund
replace
alone.
their generals, man. They're running out.
Yeah, man, that'd be cool if they turn and they're the new generals, and like Hodor's one of the giants. That'd be cool too, or mini giant, whatever you want to say, half giant. So now talk about generals and stuff. Let's talk about our champion. So we actually have to have a champion, not for the season, because we'll get to the season champion when we do our recap next year or whenever we get to it. But we're talking about the finale, the final episode. Who is your champion from the Dragon and the Wolf, or the Wolf? I think Dragon and the Wolf, right? Tom, I'll go to Tom first. Who's your champion for the season 7 finale?
My champion is the beautiful Brienne of Tarth. If she wasn't there, I don't think Jamie would have had like morality on his side. You know what I mean? Like, she's his compass. She is the oath keeper, and for her to be like, this is what's important. Fuck every other oath. Do this. Like, this is what's important. And for Cersei to be like, oh, break it. Don't keep your promises. The compass behind each motivation, like, I loved Brienne being there. It was great. The look that they were giving each other, Cersei and her, and the Dragon Pit was awesome. So just Brienne being in the right place at the right time.
Before I go to Kimber, we're getting a lot of hate from Eric, Tom, that Brienne is your champion for obvious reasons. You know why? Eric's hating on that. And I agree with what you say, because if Jamie had an angel and devil on his shoulder, one would be Brienne, the other one would be Cersei. So that's pretty cool that you brought that up. So Kimber, I apologize. Who is your champion for the season? I mean, not season, sorry. Episode finale, season finale.
Well, I figure you guys are both going towards that Jamie moment. It's a huge one, and I would be tempted to pick him myself, but I am going to go a different route. Now, I am going to pick the Targaryens collectively, being Jon, Dany, and Rhaegar, for closing the deal in this episode. That's where I'm going.
All right. For me, I mean, we talked about this before on Twitter. Like, you could have chose Jamie too, because we need all the Jamie love possible, because he's been hated on for so long by so many people in the thing. So obviously my champion is obviously going to be Jamie Lannister, my favorite character. I'm glad to see his story starting to pay off finally. You know, we had that earlier redemptive arc back in season 3 or 4 it was, but then he immediately raped Cersei, which kind of threw that away, because it's different in the books how that happens. So, you know, it just, that kind of broke his redemptive arc earlier on. So I'm glad to see his redemptive arc finally pay off. So my champion of the finale is Jamie Lannister. And as always, we can't have our champion without our shame bell. So I'm going to start off first with who I'm going to give this shame to. And I really didn't really think of this that much, but possibly I'm going to have to give my shame bell to Tyrion Lannister. So shame, because, I mean, Peter Dinklage did a fantastic acting job. I just don't understand him lurking in the shadows. I question that. So that's why I'm giving him the shame bell. Other than the fact that I didn't have anyone else to give the shame bell to this episode, I really didn't think anyone had deserved it. Or I can just give it to Samwell Tarly, just because he just showed up late, and I know Raul will get pissed about that. But no, I'm gonna go with Tyrion. All right, Kimber, who do you give the shame bell to?
Euron Greyjoy.
Okay, shame.
He just disappointed me. I was really hoping that they were saving up till the end of the season to do something cool with him. They made him kind of do a bitch move and then explained that it was Cersei's plan, which makes Cersei kind of more badass, but Euron is still kind of like, bitch. The actor talked all this shit about how he was so much better than Ramsay. I miss Ramsay so much. Cersei and Ramsay are the best villains in the show. This was weak sauce. It's Euron.
Okay, and Tom, who do you give your shame bell to?
It has to be Cersei. How are you going to drive?
Shame. All right, go ahead.
How are you going to drive the only person who's been by your side throughout your entire life, literally, away? Like, she's running out of allies every second. And I'm not rooting for her, and I'm glad Jamie's coming to this side. But still, like, as a person, like, what are you thinking, lady?
So that's a pretty bold person to put. So that's nuts. I agree. She's like a great villain. I can't hate on her. She's, you know, every year you have those people you'd love to hate, and she's just one of those people. Like I'm with Kimber. I loved Ramsay. I really loved Ramsay, and he left too soon. So for Euron to come out, or the actor to come out and say, I'm going to be a better villain than Joffrey and Ramsay. And Ramsay. He started out awesome. And this season, like Tom was saying, in this season, he started out awesome. That scene with him just coming down that bridge, woo! But like after that, we didn't really get much of him. Besides the little poking that he did to Jamie in the throne room. But yeah, so obviously after we go through our shame bell and champions, we're gonna have to go to our Raven from Castle Black. So we have our poll, our final poll of the season. So we're going to go to Lady Kimber. So Kimber, what do we have for our poll?
Sure, you asked season 7 rating, and you put a rating scale here. You had 1 or 2 is Cersei's heart. 3 to 5 is the Night King's balls. 6 to 8 was Dragonfire, and Wildfire was a 9 or 10. And Wildfire did sweep the poll with 68%. 26% thought it was Dragonfire, with 5 at the Night King's balls, and only 2 that thought it was as cold as Cersei's heart.
Okay, so thank you so much. I agree. Like, so I know we're gonna get some callers in right now. We're getting the list going. But what do you guys think of the season overall? Like, what would you guys have rated it?
I mean, I think season 4 is still my favorite, but definitely like as far as like moments, like out of a season, I think this season has like my favorite moments is like with dialogue and just some cinematic stuff that happened and just people meeting. But 4 is still probably my favorite.
4 is my favorite, but I'm unbelievably biased just because of my deep and sincere love and appreciation for Oberyn Martell, my all-time favorite Game of Thrones character.
I just love the trial stuff, so it's
yeah,
the same.
Excellent as well. But I thought this was an excellent season, really good, and I think it took possibly the biggest upswing between seasons, because I did think that last season had a lot of problems and was kind of slow and had some filler. Definitely, whatever you say about this season, you cannot say that it had filler. Things were moving very quickly. We got a lot of information every episode, and we saw, even if it wasn't the most, it was a predictable season, basically, for people who are really big fans of the books and for people who really follow the show. It was predictable. Nice to see all these things what we've wanted to see for a really long time hit the screen, and I don't think that they disappointed us in our expectations. So I thought it was really strong. I would probably give it like an 8 or 9.
Okay. Yeah, I agree with you guys. I gave it like an 8 or 9 as well. Probably a 9. So I'll be on the 9 to 10 scale with Wildfire. I really enjoyed it. Obviously, Jamie had a great arc this whole season. And seeing all these things, like a lot of payoffs we had this season, a lot of the little reunions we had, all those things were so meaningful and great to see. So we're gonna get to callers now. We have, I know Eric wants to call in, Raul, Corey, Jeff, Billy, Elise. Yeah. Okay.
Yep, I'm getting everybody right now once I find.
You should tell them that you might have to go to work.
Yeah.
I do go to work. I have to leave at 11:45, so as long as
So we'll finish out the show still.
sorry, I think I can double check because my schedule is a little different this week.
So we're probably going to ask you guys what you felt of the season finale, some thoughts on that, and how would you guys rated the season as well. So keep that in mind when you're calling in. So what you thought about the final episode, as well as what you thought of the season as a whole, on what rating on the rating scale that I gave you guys. So we got our good buddy Eric from Mine is the Fury calling in right now. I just see his picture. I think you're there, right, Eric? There you are. How are you, Eric?
I am here, guys. What's up? I am good.
How'd you feel about this episode? And then give us your rating for the season.
I thought this episode was absolutely phenomenal. It lived up to my hype. I loved so much stuff that happened. Even Theon, who I'm not a big fan of, I loved him in this episode. Same thing with Jamie. I did love Jamie in this episode. That moment you brought up with him, it was and him not having the Lannister armor was a terrific scene. The whole parlay, Littlefinger's death, it was just great. So overall, I would rank this. I'm kind of like what Kimber said. I'm a very big season 2 guy because of my intense love of Stannis Baratheon, but I would rank this season very, very high. I would give it a 9. I would give it a solid 9. It lived up to my expectations.
So, any moment you liked for the entire season? What was your favorite moment of the season?
The Fields of Fire, Part 2. I thought that was just
so you're talking about
absolutely
the loot tree, right?
incredible. That might be, yeah. But I just think that might be my favorite fight sequence the show has ever done. The Fields of almost. I love Blackwater the most, but the Fields of Fire Part 2 might be my favorite now. as far as like a fight sequence goes.
I was like, how you not talk about Blackwater? Because Blackwater, that's when Stannis is like so badass, man. He led the charge, you know. So
that is my favorite, and that's my favorite episode of all time. But Fields of Fire, very, very close because it was really good.
All right, first time caller we have here with Jeff. Welcome, our maester of the Night's Watch. How are you doing, Jeff?
Hi guys, how are you doing?
First of all, I want to ask you how you're feeling. How's everything going with your health?
It's not quite as bad as it was, so that's good.
But we're glad to see you here. I'm glad you got to join us. We're very grateful. You know,
Thank you.
Should be resting, but it means a lot that you're here. So thank you for being here.
Thank you.
So what did you think of the finale, and what do you think? What rating would you give it? The whole season as a whole. I mean, after
the finale, I thought was absolutely incredible. I'm bummed that I couldn't watch it live, but when I did finally get a chance to see it, I was just completely blown away. I had to watch it again immediately. There were so many things that just blew my mind. And as far as the whole season would go, it was, you know, season 6 is still my favorite, but this one was really damn close.
Okay, and what would you rate it?
The Wildfire, absolutely.
Oh, the Wildfire, so give it a 10, 9 or 10?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Eric, before we get to your favorite moment of the season, we'll give you a second to think about it. We're going to give Eric a chance to plug his stuff before we rotate him out. So, Eric, go ahead and plug your stuff. And then, Jeff, in the meantime, think of your favorite moment of the entire season.
Game of Thrones recap show called Mine is the Fury. The final episode will be out this week. Tom already did the thumbnail, and it was wonderful. You will get a huge plug during the final episode, Tom. Don't you worry. I also do Aftermath with Cal and Delisha, which the next one will be September. I'm not exactly sure what the date is, but Cal 25th. That will be the next Aftermath. And you can find me calling into Odd Shape Channel on Mondays, and you can find me on Twitter at mmkoch. That's Koch 200, and you can let me know everything you think.
All right, thank you. I appreciate you joining us, Eric. You're here every week, so thank you so much, and we're going to see you next season. Thank you for buying the shirt, and I enjoy your Mind is a Fury. So it's going to be.
I do have the shirt on. Just so you know, I got the shirt on.
Awesome. Yep, and so does Jeff. So really, yeah, I thank you guys enough, man. This is awesome. So
I had a terrific time all season. This has actually been my favorite part of talking about Game of Thrones. Has been with the Night's Watch, you guys. So I very much look forward to next season, no matter how far.
And then we got the prequel, so don't worry. But thank you so much for joining us every week, Eric. It means a lot to us, and we'll see you on the Mind is a Fury. So I'll be there for that.
And there's one final thing. Final thing I gotta say real quick.
Yep.
Stannis Baratheon will always be the one true king, no matter what.
We had to get that in. I can't wait till Raul gets on and gets his little thing in too. So, all right, we're gonna go back. Thanks a lot, Eric, once again. We'll see you.
Thank you.
Jeff, your favorite moment of the entire season?
Favorite moment has to be the Field of Fire. It was absolutely just stunning. From seeing the Dothraki horde and then the dragon come in, the way that the dragon torched them to ash was it was such a visually striking thing to see, especially for Jaime and Bronn, been veterans of combat, and for them to see that, you know, for Jaime to say, we can't win, we cannot win. It was just everything that I hoped that it would be.
Yeah, I'm glad you found the show. I think you found it through Delisha, and you know, that's great insight you just put in. I wish you were calling in early, before on earlier shows, but now you know where to call in, how to call in, and when we get to future episodes of Night's Watch, and then season 8 comes back, I'm going to be happy to see you there. We need our maester. Do you have anything you want to plug before you go?
Just my Twitter, JMasterPoet, and I'd like to just take this moment to say thank you from the bottom of my heart to all of you. It's been an incredible family to be adopted into, and I really love you all.
You've taken my thunder. I was going to say that same thing to you, man. You came in this short time, man, you've shown so much love to our entire community, not just the Night's Watch. So on behalf of all of us, I'm sure they say the same thing. Thank you. That you've been elevated to the maester of the Night's Watch because of so much dedication you've shown to this show, but I know you show to all. I see all your tweets, and you show so much love to everybody, and we wish you the best health and all that stuff. So thank you so much for being part of the family, and welcome.
Thank you.
And now you take the black, and so your watch has started now. So your watch.
I have.
So Thank you so
Thank you.
much, Jeff. And we're gonna see you around on Twitter.
Okay.
See ya. All right, welcome, Raul. So tell us what you thought about this finale. Then tell us what you thought your rating for the entire season was, and your favorite moment of the season.
Oh, first I didn't hear the last thing that Eric said, and then you said something about Sam, and I didn't hear it because my phone was ringing.
Eric said the last thing. Eric said the last thing I want to get in is I want to pledge my life to Stannis, that the one true king. I'm like, oh great, he had to get it in. I know that Raul's gonna have to get a Sam thing in too as well. So I'm waiting for your Sam thing, but go ahead and tell us what you thought of this episode. Give us your rating for the season, and then your favorite moment.
First, my rating was a 9. I really like it. I didn't give it a 10 because I was still upset that Kimber and all of you guys called the death of that dragon. So it wasn't as surprising for me. That's why I didn't give it a 10. But and it didn't bother me all the time problems that everybody's pitching on Twitter. For me, I really like the pacing right now because this is finally, it's like a friend that I told him on Twitter, like Game of Thrones is like reading a book and we're now in like chapter 20 of 22. We're almost at the end. And so this is finally the whole battle that you want to see. And my favorite scene, it has to be Cersei and Tyrion / Cersei and Jaime, because I like both scenes because they are in the same place. It's about family, it's about love. That's the thing that I really like because I really like how Cersei, she really wanted to kill Tyrion because even though she hates him, she still loves him because he's his brother. And the Jamie scene, I was like, this bitch has completely gone full villain of telenovela. I was like, if she kills Jamie right now, I was like, only needs the iPad, she could be my bae Catalina. I was like, she did
I
a
saw
Catalina move.
I saw your tweet. I didn't understand what it meant, but I saw your tweet about that.
Yes, because I have seen telenovelas for a long time, and so even though like a lot of those, a lot of telenovelas are remakes, but one of my favorites is Cuna de Lobos. It's an original story that are right now on reboots and remakes, even in Mexico. That's a telenovela they don't dare to remake because it's very unique. No one can catch that feel again. And so, and other thing that Kimber said, I think that would be a nice twist is Cersei Euron, that she already has sex off screen with Euron. That would be cool.
So that's Euron's baby, maybe.
Yes.
Awesome. My friend Nicole
And
is texting me right now, so she wants to be BFF with you because if she shares your love for Sam and all that kind of stuff. So.
of course. Going to the Sam scene. When Brad says, I know you, Sam Tarly, and he gives like a really villain smile, and the way that he talked, I was like, if they're gonna go for that theory that Bronn is the Night King, I thought that he was gonna transform into the Night King and said, this is why you killed one of my men. And I thought he was gonna kill Sam with the dragon gas. I was like, I was going already prepare my machete to kill the Ryers from Game of Thrones.
So
I was like, if that moment happened.
I wanted to ask you, Raul, because Sam is your dude. You didn't think it was kind of shitty that he kind of just like brushed off Gilly's contribution to this? He didn't even mention her, and really, she's the one who found this information, not him.
Oh,
well, though,
I know.
What they said about that. They said that maybe it was a book that Sam already transcribed, that Gilly was practicing to read on.
Yes.
Still.
Oh, but it's okay. But also, it's like a teacher. I have one of those teachers, like, even though, like, you can contribute something new, and they're not going to give you credit because Sam is going to take, like, I'm the one that's teaching her to read, and she's finding something new. I'm not going to say, oh, this peasant give me this information. Even though I know Sam is a nice person, but it's in the heat of the moment. He said, yeah, I found out about this. And
And
also, it's medieval times. So some men didn't like women, and so
um, Eric in the chat is saying that you should give credit to Shreen as well because Shreen taught her to read as well. So
that's true.
where can we find you, Raul, and what have you been up to?
You can find me at Raul Vero RDC. You can find me in all of the L-shaped channels. Check out Tough. We just had our season premiere with Billy Business from Screen Junkies. It's on the Tough channel. And nothing going on. Like, I keep seeing movies and I do my things on Twitter and just talk to me, and that's it.
Thank you so much, Raul. Are we getting the next person in? And we'll see you next season. The Night's Watch.
Yeah, see you 2025.
Yes. You got to leave like Laura Palmer. See ya.
Bye.
Who's up next? Is it Billy? Oh, welcome, Billy. How are you doing?
Hey, Billy.
So tell us what you thought.
Lady Kimber, and
Lord Tom.
Lord Tom.
Yeah.
Of
So
House
I know
Nacho.
you said you had a bunch of stuff to say, but what do you think of the finale? What do you rate the season and your favorite scene as well?
What do I think of the finale? Let me see. First, I'm in my shirt, and
Oh, your Night's Watch. Yes.
I gotta give happy name day to Janine of House Devine. No, I don't know how to pronounce Janine's actual last name, but I have not said it all day just so I can say it on air. I did that on purpose. I didn't forget Janine. But yeah, and happy birthday to Corey. I sent him a happy birthday on Facebook, and he put a very funny thing from Freaky Friday. But anyway, I digress. The finale, I'm going to give it the same as Raul. I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10. And that's only just because it's just aired for me, and I need some time to process it still. I didn't actually watch it on premiere night because I was in Chicago, and I didn't have any HBO. So I literally watched it yesterday when I got home, and that was very late. So I'm still kind of processing it, but just so much went down, and a lot of it was satisfying. A lot of stuff was not satisfying. I agree with Euron being disappointing. He was just like, oh, I want to be just as bad as Ramsay. I'm like, no, you're not. You're just saying that you've had like maybe 1 or 2 cool scenes of you being.
He like literally said that like he was gonna make Ramsay look like a bitch or something like that. Like he went in on his statement about that.
Yeah, and Ramsay had 1, 2, 3. Well, he had 4 seasons to basically get that reputation. You can't do that in just one. And yeah, I was disappointed in that. But I was very happy with the best character on the show, and I will stand by that statement, Mr. Jon Snow, a.k.a. Aegon Targaryen, and it's literally confirmed that he is the Song of Ice and Fire. I mean, granted, also, yeah, he has a nice butt.
Was that his butt your favorite moment of the season?
No. My favorite moment of the season has got to be when it was the battle past the wall with the Snowside squad and all the whites, and then the dragons come in. But the specific moment is actually after the battle, and it's when the Night King resurrects Viserion as a undead dragon, because I was just like, my mouth dropped, and very few times does that actually ever happen when I watched Game of Thrones. Is when Ned was about to die, Red Wedding, Hard Home, and this. So that is only one of 4 moments where my jaw just went, like, I couldn't believe it. I was just like, oh. And I mean, this season's been fantastic. From episode 1 to episode 7, everything's just happened. All this payoff from all these years. And honestly, I don't know who gave the best performance, if it's Lena Headey or Kit Harington, or even Emilia Clarke, and even Davos. I really like Davos. I'm with Eric there. He's one of my favorite characters.
Me too.
So, thank you for that. Thank you for supporting Night's Watch. I know you won the Night's box, the first ever one. So, congratulations. And you've also been a loyal caller and loyal watcher. So, thank you so much for the support as well. Where can we find you, and what have you been up to?
Oh yeah, one more thing. I promised Eric that there's a line in the finale that reminded me of him, and it was when Dr. Manhattan, because he's basically Dr. Manhattan from Watchmen now, when he's just like, John's the true heir to the Iron Throne, and I'm like, yeah, in your face, Stannis.
Oh boy,
I had to give one more Stannis jab just before we end this season. And I know Eric's going to be like, traitor and all that stuff. I don't care. Jon Snow is the best character. And yeah, you can find me at Twitter at BBusterBill. I'm on all the Odd Shaped shows. I'm going to try to make as many tough channel stuff as I can. Usually I work during that time, so that is why I don't join in live. But I will always just support everybody and hit me up on Twitter. I'm always happy to talk to people.
All right. Thank you so much, Bill.
Okay.
I think we're going to get Corey in here. We also have Austin in line, Delisha, and Sam. So maybe we can cut Sam in ahead of time after Corey because he's only got a few minutes left of lunch. So we get Corey, Sam, Austin, and Delisha in that order. So Corey, I think the invite's going out to you.
Ba-da-ba-da-ba-ba. Everyone's so excited.
I mean, they're still on that high of the season. It was a great season, man, and the finale didn't disappoint. So,
Yeah, I know. I think I'm going to go watch it again after this.
what's up, Corey? Welcome. In the dark, as always, for the night is dark and full of Corey.
Hello. Competing with Sam for a darkest room chat.
Yeah, or Tyrion. He might be watching. He might be Tyrion watching in the dark. So, what'd you think of the finale? Would you rate it and your favorite? Rate the season and what you think of the whole favorite moment in the season.
I enjoyed this season a lot. Not my favorite, because I liked a lot more plotting in my Game of Thrones. But I've always known that it would have to come down to this, what we're getting now, and so it's still awesome. There's still dragons killing whites, and it's friggin' awesome. It's all good. What's the next question?
What would you rate it? What do you think of the finale? How'd you rate it? And what's your favorite moment of the season?
I'd give it about an 8 out of 10. You know, I think that's an option.
That's Dragonfire, yes.
It's Dragonfire. It's still really good. I mean, I couldn't stop watching it, and the emotion this season of having people meeting back up was just doing it to me. I was crying every week this season. And my favorite moment was the entire beginning of the finale. The people meeting, all the little things, all the little people, the little interactions between people who haven't seen each other for years. I loved every minute of that. I wish there would have been more of it.
All right. Any last thoughts? Go ahead.
Yeah. Also, I loved Brienne and the Hound. They were very much like divorced parents who are both like very proud of their kid with Arya. And I'm going to forgo my plug this week just to say to Jeff that, yeah, we are kind of a good family. I know that because you guys accepted me into this little family about a year ago, and when I joined Screen Junkies and all that, and I could not have felt more welcome. And it's time to pay that forward to a new member. So welcome, Jeff.
You can still get your plug in. I would like you to.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Well, I'm at GeoMetroid on Twitter. I host the Tech Podcast, which has been sort of out of commission for the last few weeks. But I'm also on the Game Fixers Network. I'm on all of Mac's shows, Bucks Plays, or Kim's Plays, depending on who you ask.
Yeah.
Kim's Classics,
And on Twitter at GeoMetroid, right?
Yeah, at Twitter on GeoMetroid. That's right.
And just
thank you.
Yeah, I want to thank you for joining us. I can't wait to see what you have to say tomorrow on Twin Peeps because that's going to be interesting. And I also want to mention that it's not a prerequisite to be a Screen Junkie person to be part of our family. Just for everyone who's out there who is not part of the family yet, that's not a prerequisite. So thank you once again, Corey.
That's where I came in from.
Yeah, and I'm just playing. Thank you again, Corey. All right, Sam, what's up from Down Under? How you doing? Oh, I can't hear you. Oh, now I can hear you. Yeah, there you go. That's better. So I'm going to ask you, what did you think of the finale? How do you rate the season, and what was your favorite moment? And we know you read the script ahead of time, so did the episode live up to what you read?
Well, with this one, this was the one that I didn't know a lot about. I only knew the three main plot points, which is basically the three main things that happen. I reckon they missed an incredible opportunity to go back to old school Game of Thrones with the when Jaime walked out on Cersei. I reckon the Mountain should have drove his sword through Jaime's back, and that would have been a death that just came out of nowhere, and would have also paralleled how he stabbed the Mad King in the back. So I reckon there was a great big opportunity missed. So it'll be interesting to see where he goes next season and whether that can make up for what I think would have been a better opportunity just to have someone die out of nowhere.
So what did you rate the season?
I'm usually a pretty harsh marker. I'd probably go a 7.
7? It's not that bad. Still passing.
Yeah. It was good, but it could have been better.
And your favorite moment of the season?
See, my favourite moment of the season is the Ed Sheeran scene, but not because Ed Sheeran's in it, because Thomas Thurgoose is in it. Those who are fans of This Is England and the TV series they've done after the movie, he's the main character from that movie and the TV shows. So I love Thomas Thurgoose. So seeing him sharing his wine with Arya, that was my favourite part of the season.
All right, that's awesome. So where can we find you, and what have you been up to?
You can always find me in Australia, generally. I haven't been up to a lot.
You're like a Kangaskhan,
So, yeah.
right? I think that's a Pokemon joke. But anyway, yes, and at s7e7 Elephant, correct? On Twitter?
That's me.
Yep. So, and do you have any new videos to send me on Twitter this week?
Not yet.
I enjoyed the last one you sent me.
I've got some stuff I'm working on.
Okay, cool. I did enjoy the last one you sent me, so I'm excited to see what you got. So thank you for joining us. I know it's, I think, early there now, right? It's probably early there.
Lunchtime, so it's about 1 o'clock.
All right. Thank you again for joining us, and hope to see you next season.
No worries. See you guys.
Later. All right. What's going on, Delisha? Uh-oh, I can't hear you.
Turn her up. Yeah.
Hold on.
Again?
There it is. I kind of hear it. No.
Uh-oh.
Okay. Hold on.
Very lightly. I think you just need to talk a little louder.
Oh,
There it
sorry.
is.
No, Joe's sleeping.
Okay.
Talk.
Where's your headset? Normal headset.
Broken.
Okay. All right. So what'd you think of the finale?
don't-
How do you rate the season? And what was your favorite moment? Did she freeze now?
Uh-oh.
Okay.
What happened?
You froze for a second.
Oh, sorry. I'd rate the season probably about the same as everyone else, 8 or 9 out of 10. I would have liked it to be a little longer, but that's because I just don't want it to end at all. But so just some things like the whole yarn stuff just wasn't hitting its mark like to me like it should have, and I think that Arya Sansa thing might have went either on too long or was executed as best as I think it could have been. But beyond that, I was totally fine with this whole season. I was enthralled like with every episode. Favorite scene, it's gotta be that dragon battle scene. Just seeing, we've been building up since these dragons were born, just seeing them finally fight and like battle outside of Essos, and we got to see them in all their, just one in all its dragon glory, and then see the Dothraki fight in their fighting style, and then it was just an amazing scene. And what was the other question?
Yeah, well, you said the favorite moment. You give the rating. What did you think of the last episode?
Oh, I really enjoyed it. The whole beginning of all of them coming together was probably the most I don't know, like squealing like fangirl moment I had throughout the whole show. just seeing all these characters that we have, some who haven't interacted with each other since season 1, come together. It's like, oh man, this is so awesome. So that's probably one of my favorite moments from last night, Sunday night.
Awesome. So, but you enjoyed it. So I know it was too short, as many of us thought too. But we had to wait quite some time, so we can rewatch the whole show or even read the books. So,
start now because we probably have 15 years before the next, then 25 before this all ends. So I'm finally gonna get started.
Well, yeah, you do have that. So, Delisha, where can we find you? What have you been up to?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Delisha_Renee. You can have been up to finding a new job, as some of you guys know. It's a harrowing experience, but I'm trying to get out of my current situation. And then you can also find me calling into all the other OSP and tough shows as well, and supporting you guys any way that I can.
All right, thank you very much, and we'll see you soon, hopefully. All right, yeah, Delisha. And I think we have our final caller, Austin, coming in. Having to install the new version of Firefox. He says, one moment. Does anyone else want to call in the meantime to vamp?
I mean, I can vamp real quick while we're waiting for Austin. Yep. So this is it. This is the finale of Night's Watch for this season, and I'd just like to thank everyone who has, joined us along the way. You guys are really kind with. I'm glad everyone feels welcome. That has always been our intention, and I'm glad it's still that.
We've also, it's a lot bigger than it was last season, and we had a lot more people who were regulars and showed up to every episode or nearly every episode, so I really appreciate that, and that's awesome, and we hope that we see all you guys next season as well.
But I also wanted to give a round of applause to Cal, because this is his baby, and he was generous enough to host it on our channel, and he did all the work, so really all the applause should go to him.
Oh, thank you so much.
Tom does that.
Yeah.
Tom does the little intros, and he does the things. So both of you guys.
Oh, hey, Dub. Dub is here.
All right. Well, really, Dub is the one who does everything.
I do have all this stuff to get to, after we get through this. Trust me, I wrote this all down, so I was waiting for the last call, and then I have my thank yous to go through too. So don't think I forgot everybody, and I hope they're still around for this after we get Austin's call in. And
have to put shoes on.
Kimber sub and Dub. Oh, Nick, did you want to call in real quick or not? That's my best friend since childhood. So.
Oh, nice. That's your Candace.
Yes, my Candace. We are waiting for Austin, so Austin, just give us the okay when you're ready. And if Nick wants to call in, we could send him a call.
Yeah, and Austin, if you need us to send you another invite, then let us know.
Big money, Salvio.
Daenerys was bouncing on her boy's dick.
It's deep.
I guess in the meantime, I'm gonna go through the charity. I know I usually close on that, but maybe I'll close on the our social media cards so people can get in touch with us. So if I go to the raffle one more time, remember the prize is the Song of Ice and Fire book set. It's a charity raffle where all proceeds go to Tina Simmons, to help pay for a medication for not covered by Medicaid. You can read more about her story at LostDog20 on Twitter. So if you want to enter the raffle, please contact me at NightsWatchTube on Twitter DM, or email me nightswatchtube@gmail.com, or you can even get at me on my normal thing at VirenJadejaVu. And I want to thank everyone who already donated, such as Vicky, Elise, Mormo, my cousin Jay, my members of the softball team, including Howard, Dominic, and Drew, my friends Jen and Angelo, Corey from our family, Ken and Nicole, who's new to the show today, but been watching for a while. So thank you all. It really means a lot. Remember, it's ending August 31st, this Thursday, and then I will be making the donation and the raffle video winner on Friday, September 1st. All right, so thank you everyone who's already donated, and you can just remember this is gonna be a pinned tweet on the Night's Watch Tube. So if you don't get the info here, contact me or check out the Night's Watch Tube on Twitter for the info. Welcome to our three-eyed raven of the Night's Watch, Austin. For congratulations on making those awesome predictions. Very well done. You're looking great. It's great to see you back on camera. I've missed you. Haven't seen you in a while. But it's
Yeah,
good to
good
see
to
you,
be
man.
back.
So how have you been? How did you enjoy the season finale? What did you think of the season as a rating wise from our rating system? And what was your favorite scene of the season?
I thought the season was very good. You guys hear me?
Yep.
Okay, just make sure.
Give me a second. I'll turn
Yeah,
you
I
up a
thought the
little.
season was great. I like I said in the chat, it doesn't get a 10 out of 10 just because of the limited episodes we got, and I wish that they would have done a full season, and I hope that they do a full season. Like, if this rumor is true that it's not going to be back till 2019, like, okay, maybe extend those episodes out, because I like the more Game of Thrones we get, the better. But and then so yeah, that's definitely my thoughts on this season of. I mean, it being great. So I mean, technically it's a 10 out of 10 in my book, but just because we didn't get those episodes. I'm sorry. So what was the other question?
What did you like? What do you think of the finale? And then what also was your favorite scene of season 7?
One of my favorite scenes was probably that in the finale was having that ice dragon, tear down that wall. I wish they would have extended that scene out a little bit more. It seemed a little bit rushed. I mean, it almost seemed like within like 30 seconds the wall's down. I wish maybe that would have been a little bit extended, just to see more of that. But I know probably for budget reasons they can only show that dragon for so long. But the amount of time we did see that dragon was amazing. That blue fire was like my jaw was to the floor. I said out loud, I was watching it with some friends, and I said out loud that I said this scene is awesome. I was in the show, middle of the show, I'm like, this scene is awesome because of how amazing that dragon looked. I mean, the Night King just badass on that thing. So
I know Nicole in the chat echoed your thoughts, your sentiments about that. She's like, we waited 6 seasons or 7 seasons for the Night King to get to the wall, and they put it down in like 30 seconds, and that was, so she did echo that. So that's a good thought. What else were you gonna say about the finale or your favorite scene? I know that was your favorite scene, but anything else that you want to say about it?
Yeah, I mean, just that. I mean, I hope that the next season is as good as this season because they really knocked it out of the park with this season. It finally, like Kimber said earlier, they finally showed a bunch of stuff that we've all been waiting for. It's almost like in that predictability, I 100% agree with you, Kimber, because there's tons. I mean, that's where you made a joke that I predicted it all, but that's where I was. I felt like that finale was predictable, but not in a bad way where it's like, well, it's so predictable. I don't care. It's predictable because I care. I mean, I love these characters and I love this show. I actually finally got a coworker of mine to start watching the show, and he just started season 4 tonight. So every day I get to talk to him about the past stuff, and he brings up stuff that I kind of almost forgot about. And also, I don't spoil anything for him, but we get to talk about that, and so it's real nice.
He's gonna make you want to watch the show over again.
I have watched a few episodes of season 1 and 2 because there's some stuff that I feel like they did callbacks to this season, and I think that they're going to do callbacks from next season as well too, like season stuff on like 1 and 2, especially Daenerys in the House
Undying,
the House of the Dead. I think that premonition will play a huge part into season 7. So,
before you plug, I wanted to say, if you want to be spoiled by the Three-Eyed Raven, he has put up his predictions for season 8. So where can we find those for those who want to be spoiled? Where can we find those predictions, Austin?
Yeah, I don't know if they're gonna be spoilers. I mean, but like I wanted to get them out early just in case. Like, I mean, we saw this season. I mean, there's so many leaks that get out that I that's what I don't like leaks. I want to get my thoughts and feelings out before anything gets plugged online. So then it's like, well, you read that online somewhere. It's like, no, I want to do this thing right. So I'm getting them out early. They're on there. They're timestamped. So I'm like, all right, there's my predictions. If I'm wrong, I'm wrong. I mean, I probably am wrong. They're just my thoughts. So, but yeah, if you want to check me out on Twitter, at Weird1, that's HWeird1. And obviously, subscribe to this channel. I mean, most of the people in the chat probably already are, but anybody that watches this after and then you're not subscribed, definitely subscribe to Odd Shape channel. They're some good guys and girls, and yeah, you guys are awesome.
Thank you. We really missed you, man, on the show. Seeing you on any of the shows, really missed you. So I'm glad to see you back, and we've been talking off camera and all that about everything. So I'm glad to see things going good for you, and I can't wait to see you on other shows, man. So thank you for joining us, and hope to see you next season. All right, so I'm going to turn it over to Tom and Kimber if they want to get their plugs in and what projects they're working on, and before I do the final outro.
So 2 more episodes left of Twin Peaks, our Twin Peaks recast show, Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, part 15. So check that out. Next Monday, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, we'll be doing OSP Q&A, Current News Edition. And then Tuesday, we might be dropping a secret project. Who knows? Something might show up from the black net. If I'm being mysterious, I'm supposed to be.
Hint, hint.
Also, it's a twofer on Tough this Thursday. It's our new show on the Tough channel.
All right, and then I guess I'll put this up right now so you guys can talk over it. You know, you can do submissions. I mean, we don't have no more submissions now, but if you want to follow us, you can follow Night's Watch Tube at Night's Watch Tube. Sorry, follow Night's Watch at Night's Watch Tube, and me at Virgin Deja Vu. Tom and Kimber, if you want to take over, where you can follow you guys.
Yeah, you can tweet at us at me at Oddshaped Panel.
_OSP.
And you'll find all the episodes for this if you maybe are only watching this episode and are like, oh, wait, there's more. Yeah, they're all cataloged on oddshapechannel.com.
And we got to always thank Janine. I'll give her another happy name day to Janine. You can follow her at Janine DeBean and at G9 Designs. Thank you for the title card and the shirts. So if you know, always for next season, we can have some more Take the Black. So please join us there. Follow her there and, you know, support the show in that way too. Thank you to my cousin once again at Shreep's Music for doing the theme song. And like last but not least, you know, obviously I want to thank the community. Thank you so much for supporting us. Thank you for buying the shirts. I know Janine is telling us the Night's Watch shirt is one of the best selling shirts in their shop now. So thank you so much for doing all that. Thank you for following us every week. Thank you for calling in. Thank you for your tweets and your, you know, voting in the polls, retweeting all of us and everything. So like, it just means so much. It means the world to us. And you see how our family is growing. We started on Blab, just a few of us. And now we have a huge community, like Jeff was saying. Like, it's great that we all support each other, follow each other on Twitter, follow each other on YouTube, subscribe. And, you know, I couldn't do this alone. It wouldn't be a Night's Watch without Tom and Kimber. You know, they mean the world to me. Thank you for, you know, joining me on this along on this ride. It would have been just the Kingslayer by himself. And, you know, that would probably been an awful show. So I need people to bounce my ideas off of, to come up with theories and all that. So it means the world to me that they joined me and continued on this. And I know Dubs gave a shout out to Joel, you know, my original co-host, and everything with him. And, you know, if you buy a shirt, you see that his name's also on the shirt as well. But, you know, you guys mean so much to me. Thank you for joining me on this. And I love to collaborate with you on all the stuff we do, you know, calling in on your shows and all that. So this community is great. Thank you for everyone to be here. And just, you know, I can't wait till next season. And I hope we see you there. And I have more members of the Night's Watch. You know, follow us all on Twitter. Subscribe to their Oddshaped channel. You can subscribe to my Kingslayer YouTube. There's so much you can do. Just check out. I'm sure it's all going to be in the description and on oddshapechannel.com. There's so much for all of us. Keep this family strong. Keep this family going, because that's the only way we're going to beat the long winter, okay? So the Great War is coming. We'll stand together against it. Thank you so much. I'm going to put the title card at the end and sign us off. Thank you again. And now our watch has ended.